everyone, Lisa here. Hope you've had a lovely week and that you've got some time to be creative. I take people out to paint outdoors on plein air painting, and one of the things that I'm usually really getting them to notice is the tonal values of what they're looking at. Pardon me. So it's the light and shade, or the depth of the colours. One really good thing to do when you're a beginner, especially because you're worrying about colours, composition, just trying to draw things properly. There's so many things going on. It's one thing that can just slip by you without really realising how good of a help it is when you're creating a painting. So this is one way to do something about that, and that is, before you add colour, just start off picking one colour. Normally I would say use a sepia tone like burnt sienna or your raw umber or burnt umber, or even going into a Payne's grey, which is neutral, or ultramarine blue. They're my top sort of main colours to use, but keep it really simple and use tones or values of that colour. So water it down and you've got really light areas, and then less water, more colour, more paint, and you'll get these really deep, strong areas. And that will give you a lot more information about what you can do to create your painting. So this week I've reused one of these earlier studies I did, and I've just, without reference, because this was years ago, on going to a dam with my dad, so I don't have the reference photo anymore, but I've just created adding colour to it. So perhaps think of that and just remember that I'm adding colour to something with the benefit of already seeing where I want my darks, and that's going to help lead my eye up, into this area. So I hope you enjoyed, and I really hope you learned something from it. And as a beginner, or even as a long-time watercolourist, it brings it into your conscious thought when you're painting, and it can help. Okay, if you like my videos, please like and subscribe, or even leaving a short comment is really helpful, and then I can bring you more videos. Okay, let's go. First up, I'm going to give this Derwent brush pen a try. It's a very useful option if you're traveling and you don't want to wreck a brush tip. So I'm trying it out for viability of different types of washes on my paper here. I want to recreate the tonal variations that I have blocking up this particular scene. So I've not used one before, but let's give it a whirl. I'm going to wet the paper first though, where I would normally for the sky, and then in areas where it's darker, I won't wet the paper first. I'll be using wet on dry. So here I'm just allowing my sky to be painted in with some softness, so I'll pre-wet the page. Now, it's very pliable is the word, I think. Oh, I have to add a bit of pressure. Nothing's coming out yet. I'm squeezing, and it's a little bit, maybe I need to shake it. I'll give it a bit of, there we go. So that comes out quite nice and fluid. It's not really, you have to sort of give it a shake first, I'm assuming. It's got a nice feel to it, but that's a bit too heavy for what I want, so I'm going to take that back off with some paper towel and just my wet brush, just because it's my sky and this is starting off tonally. I don't want my sky to be too heavy. Remember, this is always an option. Remember, with watercolor, as a beginner you tend not to do that, but it is always an option. Have a brush, have some clean paper towel ready. Now I'm going to try starting on these trees on the left hand side where the tone is quite light. I'm liking the way that the fake bristles are moving. I don't feel like it's too stiff. It's giving me a good amount of movement and shape. Yeah, I find I'm kind of holding it more vertically than perhaps I would a brush, but it sits really well in my hand as well. Doing this section now where it's literally several tree trunks that are quite thin, this is really good. It gives me good control rather than a bristles of a brush. I'll try over this side here where it's a little bit darker, and also on this side there's a variety of foliage that's close to me, and then I want to show foliage that's further away as well. I think it'll be very helpful I might use it in combination with brushes, but when I'm traveling, certainly it's a really, really good option. Okay, so that's the end of my lighter, softer study. Now I'll swap this paintbrush pen over to an actual paintbrush, and I'm going to start with adding colour onto here. So first off, just as usual, this blue sky, I'm just using a primary blue or phthalo blue, a really light lemony green for my highlight areas. And as you can see, I'm literally painting over the top of my base tonal value study. That's the benefit of doing this as well. So if you're not doing a particular painting to exhibit or to sell, and it's something that you would consider sort of more practice than anything else, I really do recommend just giving it a try. You may do it once and not like it, but you may find that you'll do a little study, not literally paint over it with colour as I am, but I just wanted to literally show you how you can benefit from that as well. But just to take 5 minutes before you start your painting and do your tonal value study, it really will help you with your paintings, and not only help you, but also it actually clues you into the best composition, because composition isn't just about putting lines and shapes and directing the eye around the painting. It's finding balance and finding harmony inside a painting as well. And that can come from darks and lights really reflecting each other, and making the most of darks and lights put together. So look, I'll just leave it with this commentary now from me. And you can see that as I go, I'm just adding colour to the light areas, to the areas that remained white paper, and also I'm adding in some heavier colour to create more shadow and more drama where it's needed. But all the while I'm using that Payne's Grey underpainting as my base. Obviously you don't have to do this to an entire scene, but you can look back to some of the perhaps the easier tutorials that I've done previously, like the little pot, the pot one, and I'll put the image of it here, and that would be a good one just to do a tonal study of. So here I've allowed the painting to dry somewhat, and I've come back in with a medium round brush that forms a really good tip, and I'm just putting in finer details like branches and smaller twigs and things, just peeping through the foliage and adding a little bit of extra depth to obviously increase the contrast. One of the last things I do when I'm finishing a painting is walk away, allow it time to dry. If I'm plein air painting, it's a little bit different, but I can assess it when I get home to just check, after not looking at it for a little bit, just check to see when I see it once more instantly if the tonal contrast, so the contrast between the lightest lights and the darkest darks in my painting, are as good as they can be. Well, that's almost it for this tutorial. Really appreciate everyone watching. Leave a comment or a question if you have one. And thank you so much for helping me be creative. I hope you are too. Have a great week. See you next time. Bye.